Welcome everyone, Jared Ambeau here, owner of the Ambeau Law Firm and founder of Trial Alliance, and this is the issue 27. Topic for today is fasting part 2. So, I just passed 60 hours of a fast, of a water and coffee fast, black coffee and water, and man is it getting interesting. So I have to say that a couple of things. First of all, I'm wondering now whether or not the hunger feelings, or more accurately, I was wondering yesterday whether or not my hunger feelings were emotional, mental, or physical. Because now, last night and this morning, I'm having physical hunger pangs. I mean, like ever-present physical desire to eat. I can feel it in my stomach. Um, Last night, I wake up in the middle. I wake up through the night when I sleep. And last night, every time I woke up, woke up like awake, ready to roll, ready to do something interesting. Because I think what was happening was I was waking up like I normally do, but because my body was in pain, I woke up and would be like, what am I doing? Like, what's going on? And so that was very interesting. And this morning, it's kind of stayed around. Just the physical discomfort, and I don't know if I'd call it pain. That's a little much, probably, but the physical discomfort of not having eaten um, since Thursday night at 8 o'clock. And so it brings to bear this idea that what was happening yesterday was not as much physical as it was mental, as it was a game of the sort of psychology of having to eat all the time, um, which is really interesting, right? And so one of the things that's been difficult for me in this body journey has been to control my diet. Um, After working out 4, 5, 6, even 7 days a week. Right now I work out 7 days a week, and I've done that for a long time. But so 3 days a week I do lifting, some pretty heavy lifting, actually pushing some pretty heavy weight. And then 3 days a week or 4 days a week I do cardio. And then why I say 3 or 4, because sometimes on that fourth day of the week I'll give myself a break and I'll do some yoga and stretching and stuff because I'm 49 years old, so putting my body through that kind of regimen can be a bit difficult at times. And so I've been probably 95 to 99% on getting those exercises done, working out like that. I mean, I've been very close to 100% of execution on that since February of last year. And with the exception of tearing my adductor, in which case I had to take some time off, and I was just doing upper body work at the time. But I was still doing upper body work. I still wasn't letting the days go by without doing anything. And so coming from that space of working out constantly, what happened to me was from February to October, I lost a bunch of weight. I kind of reshaped my body. I went from about 32% body fat and 260 pounds down to 240, about 23 or 4% body fat. And then I sort of plateaued. I stopped there. And no matter if I went intense with exercise or not intense with exercise, I would lose maybe 3 or 4 pounds and come back, and then kind of still play in the scale game at that point, really watching the scale. I realized that at some point that it just wasn't working. Like, I wasn't going to do enough exercise to make a difference, and it got frustrating. It got frustrating because I knew that the exercise itself wasn't going to do anything. And so in December, I would say December 12th or 13th, I read Tim Ferriss's book, 4 Hour Body. And it made a ton of sense because essentially what he said was, look, losing weight's not about doing a bunch of cardio, because you do a bunch of cardio. Like if I get on my bike and I ride on my Peloton and I ride for 45 minutes or 60 minutes or even 90 minutes, I'm really burning 400 to 800 calories right during that time. And that's intense workout. I mean, that's an intense workout. Well, if I eat, a handful of French fries, I'm done. I've just put all that weight. I put all those calories back in my body. And if I'm burning, and my lean body mass, I'm 171 pounds of lean body mass. At lean body mass, I burn like 24 or 25 or 2,600 calories a day just hanging out, just breathing and heart beating. And so the exercise, though it does a lot of other chemical things in your body, the sort of caloric burn that is exercise is not really the game, right? And so basically what Ferriss argues in his book, or what he asserts in his book, and he asserts not because he feels like it's cool thing to say, but because it's supported by the science, is that the calorie in, calorie out, calorie burn model is a load of crap. And really what's going on is that we have to adjust our metabolism, our resting metabolic rate, our chemical infrastructure, right? The glycogen, wow, yeah, see the brain's a little off this morning. The glucose insulin balance in the body, how the body stores glycogen in the liver, what it does when it gets there. It goes to two places, right? The liver and the muscle. What it does in both of those places. If you have more lean muscle mass, then you're better equipped to handle a carb load or glycogen. And if you have less lean body mass, then you're more apt to put glycogen in the liver, which is then converted to fat, right, and stored in the body. So, and I believe that's how the chemistry goes. I'm not a biological scientist in that regard for sure. So, so for me, what I realized was that this was a chemical fight, that this was a fight of chemistry, that I had to rewire my body chemistry, my glucose insulin imbalance, right? Because I had an imbalance. My A1C was 5.7, which is borderline diabetic. For years, I had tested my fasting blood glucose was 98, 99, 102, 104, 103, 102. And so I was kind of flirting with that type 2 diabetes, on the edge of it, right? Just starting that process at, mid 40s, like a lot of people do, eating a lot of bread and sugar too much and drinking way too much alcohol at the time. And so I've reset that entire clock in my body. Part of why I'm doing this 72-hour fast is that I can reset the glucose insulin meter, the sort of regulator in my body, completely assertively by doing this 72-hour fast. And so here I am in this process of understanding the chemistry of what I'm doing, understanding the chemistry of my body. And I have some last little fat around my belly button and on the back of on my lower back, kind of where men get fat deposits when we age, when we get above 40, 45. And I'm frustrated with it. It frustrates me. It frustrates me because it's the only thing that's left of Fat Jarrett. and I say that in the kindest way possible. It's the only thing that's left of unhealthy me. And it's been a real challenge to get rid of it. And this 72-hour fast was not designed to do that. It's designed to reset my body. And so here I am in this process and trying to figure it out, see where I'm at, kind of searching and seeking how can I get my body operating in the most optimal way. I watched an hour-long lecture by Dr. Peter Attia last night on longevity, on life extension, and what seems to be in the research at this point, and a real consideration of all the research. This guy is a doctor. He's a longevity doctor. He was an oncology surgeon, and then worked at the National Institutes of Health, and then at some cancer institute, some cancer institute, and then got into longevity. And now he has a team of researchers, I believe 6 of them, who read all of the current or all of the relevant current research on longevity constantly, and they're constantly fishing through that and sorting through the garbage and sorting through what's good and sorting through what's meaningful, so that Dr. Tia can continue to focus on what he thinks is effective in the marketplace and what he thinks is effective in the research and the science. And so his and I'll put the YouTube link in the post. His lecture is heavy science. It's a lecture to medical students, so it's not bells and whistles and entertaining. It's not hand waving and balloons, but it's definitely it's incredibly insightful and enlightening in terms of the chemistry, the body chemistry, and what's happening in our bodies when we make these kinds of choices, and fasting and longevity, and starting to get our bodies to functioning properly for longevity. And I know if you're 25 or if you're 30 and you're 35, and maybe even if you're 40, maybe if you're 50, you don't really care about longevity. I'm kind of digging the whole longevity thing at 49 years old. I like the longevity conversation, at least. I'd like to be a part of it. Not because I want to live forever. I want to live to 165 or some nonsense, but I do want to be functional, and I think that's really what Peter Attia was talking about last night. The longevity battle really does a couple of things, right? So first, it decreases the amount of time. He's got this great chart. I like charts. It decreases the amount of time of morbidity, right? So it decreases the amount of time that we spend dying, actively dying with chronic disease, right? So that sort of pie shape gets smaller. It also it increases our time, our number of years before we start to decline, and then the decline is sharper, and that's what stops the morbidity, right? Or the time of morbidity is shrunken because we have less time with chronic disease. And those are things I'm very interested in, right? I'm very interested in being as functional as I can for as long as I can, because as long as I'm functional, then I'm digging it, right? I'm excited about it. So I'm going to do this. We're going to finish up this fast today. Finish up kind of getting interesting feelings about what's going on. I'm actually have to do some biochemistry homework today, and so I'm going to see how the brain is functioning, which is going to be interesting at 60 plus hours of fasting, to see how I can consume information and answer questions in my homework. I'm sure I'll get on a little bit later and talk about how that's functioning, how that's going, how my brain is dealing with information like that. I've actually thought about. I'm going to study a little this morning, and if it's not functional, I'm actually going to drink some exogenous ketones. Again, 0 calories, not anything that's going to affect my fast, but something that will feed my body an energy source, a pure energy source, or a synthetic energy source in exogenous ketones. Beta-hydroxybutylene, anyway, can't think of the name. So some exogenous ketones to see if I can get my brain functioning on some ketones. And in fact, I'm almost certainly going to do that, because what I'm going to do is start studying this morning without drinking them. Then I'm going to drink those, and then I'm going to get a feel for how my brain functions on these pure ketone bodies, so that I know that my glycogen stores are gone at this point. My body's functioning on the energy it takes from fat and muscle, quite frankly. And so if I can put exogenous ketones in my body at this point, study, like serious difficult work, study before the exogenous ketones, and then study after the exogenous ketones, I can really get a feel for the effect of, or what those do to my brain function. So anyway, I'll report back later on about that, and we'll see how it goes. Really appreciate you checking in and listening, and we'll see you all later this afternoon.